The Match Ball.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Match Ball. These aren't getting any easier, are they? It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors, who will do you 10% off your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. I'm Dan Moylan, hello to you, and I'm joined by Michael Normanton.
Hello.
And Moscow White, Daniel Chapman. We're streaming live to our TSB Plus subscribers slightly later than we intended on YouTube. Computers are complicated, but we don't need to get bogged down in that at all.
Kevin Friend was handling our technical stream, so everything had to be slowed down. We had to have a long conversation about it, and then in the end, take no action.
Yes. That was an almighty kick in the bollocks, wasn't it? And I'm slightly thankful for the little tech delay there before we got started, because it's allowed me to gather my thoughts somewhat, because that was really, really upsetting, conceding that late goal. But it was coming, wasn't it?
It was, unfortunately. Which it didn't need to, because there were chances there for us. I mean, it was a very open game, I thought. They could have had goals too, but the Click chance at 1-0, that I just can't get that out of my head. I'm not quite sure how he missed, and how he missed quite badly. It went at least a foot wide of the post.
Where was the deflection on it? Because we got a corner.
Yeah.
I remember watching Little Telly gave me another view, but there was no...
Little Telly.
I didn't...
I'm not even in the mood for being funny tonight. Fuck it.
Oh, this is going to be a good half hour, isn't it? But I couldn't see any deflection. I thought he just missed it, and then when I looked up, we had a corner.
I thought he just missed as well, I have to say.
So maybe it's not all his faults. Maybe there's some infinitesimal fraction or millimetre that diverted the ball wide, or he just missed.
Yeah, I thought we were good for large parts of that, and then the last half hour we just completely ran out of steam, and Rafinha went off, and he'd been our best player, and I thought him and Rodrigo were both good actually, but him going off, he just felt like it was the end.
The end of it all,
more or less. He was having a brilliant game, I thought, Rafinha, and we know he's been injured, and I think Bielsa said post-game something along the lines of it was difficult for him to continue or something.
Yeah, he wanted to come off.
They must be managing an injury or something.
Well, yeah, they put him by... they sat him in the dugout, in front of the dugout on the grass, and put a load of ice on his leg, and I was kind of keeping half an eye on him to see if he tripped Bielsa up, because he had his legs right out across the technical area, and it was really set up for Bielsa to go tumbling over a little, like when he sat on that cup of coffee hilariously at Marseille. I'm confused about the last 20 minutes, half an hour thing, because everybody is saying, including Marcelo Bielsa by the sounds of it, that we ran out of steam and West Ham were on top towards the end of the game. There was only going to be one winner. But I actually thought we were as much in it to win it as West Ham were, and that's why we ended up losing, because they got us on the counter, and they kept getting us on the counter rather than it being... We weren't camped in our half, being dominated and giving up chance after chance. We were getting into their box. There was... I can picture Jamie Shackleton bursting into their penalty area, which he hadn't done in the first half. And there was the pullback. Rodrigo had a chance. There was Click had a shot from the edge of the box that was nodded down to him. So I was looking at it, I was thinking, oh, well, we're still getting some chances, but a little bit frightening at the other end. And then Antonio, it was a break, and you can see how, it was Antonio versus Jamie Shackleton. And I think Antonio's a bit stronger than little Shackleton.
He's a big lad, isn't he? But just with reference to him, I thought Cresswell acquitted himself really, really well.
He's a big lad.
He's a big lad as well. But I'm terribly, terribly worried about the man-to-man marking and how much it's costing us this season, because you saw all their chances probably all the chances we've conceded all season to this point. It's people running from deep, catching us in the man-to-man, pulling players out, just opposition that's a bit too wily and a bit too good for us, unfortunately.
I mean, we were all right, weren't we, today?
We were great.
For the most part.
First half, we were brilliant.
Yeah, but with the best will in the world, we could have conceded 5 goals in the first half.
Scored 5.
Yeah, I know. I enjoyed it, and I applauded them off at half time, but it could have easily been 5-3, 5-all, whatever, but we did ship a lot of chances.
Yeah, Meslier made some really good saves throughout the game, and he's pretty much consistently our best player this season. He's been superb, I think, so far.
Yeah, he's player of the year now.
And he picked up an unfair booking today for managing to just tell the ref that he might want to stop him getting absolutely twatted on every single set piece. And Friend obviously didn't like being told what to do. So
it's funny, Friend, I thought he was quite good up to a point, Friend, and then just seemed to lose control of it. He seemed to want to make himself the star of it, just been picky and finicky.
He was like that from the start. The first 2 minutes was all about correcting the positioning of a throw-in being taken on halfway. That's the start of the game. That's where he started. And he made them, West Ham, retake their kickoff as well, which is just boring. I wanted to watch the game, and there was a lot of just throw-ins. Seemed to be his special particular bugbear of the day, of where they had to be taken, where they should, exact positioning and all this kind of stuff. And so he started annoying me, and then the rest of it was he was just generally annoying. And and I don't know how I feel about the yellow card for Antonio for smashing Mellier's teeth all over the place. I don't think I can remember a reaction to a replay sounding like that. Like it was, because obviously I'd been watching it a few times with the little televiews, and it was pretty clear as soon as there was one replay of it. It's like, well, that's got to hurt, and that's not going to be a goal. And I think Friend would have struggled to get out of Elland Road had he not cancelled the goal. But then when it went on the big screen, the noise was like it was like a bomb going off in the stands, which was exciting.
Yeah, everyone knew though. But I mean, from where I was stood, I was twice the distance away from that compared to Kevin Friend, and he had a good line on it because he was stood between me and the incident, and he still had to let it go to VAR. And we had that stupid showpiece going over and looking at number Johnny 5 there in the corner by the tunnel. And just,
is it a red card?
I think the reason he got away with it is because I watched the replay on the big screen, and his eyes were always on the ball. He did connect with the elbow and lead with the elbow.
His elbow was pretty much in his mouth.
Yeah, well, but we know now it's
the bush.
It's all it's based on outcome, isn't it?
Well, his teeth were all over. He was bleeding, and he had to have a stupid looking.
Well, we know now
they made him look a fool
from what happened to Harvey Elliott. They referee based on outcome. So
Bielsa should have been on the pitch, shouldn't he? Moyes was on the pitch at one point. Came running on to kick a ball, which I didn't care for. And then at the end, I stood and sat and watched what was happening after full time, and Moyes was giving it the proper Steve Evans in front of the West Ham fans, which kind of
morbidly obese.
Yes,
in a sun hat,
stuffing his face full of chips like an opportunist seagull, and he seemed very happy to have got the result.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? When you win, that tends to be the case.
Yeah, but you don't want to be that happy. I mean, Bielsa's not going to go storming over to our away end if we ever win another game and start. I suppose he did when he was at Newell's, but he's grown out of that kind of thing. I don't enjoy it from another team's manager though, because it means we haven't won. You know,
in the run up to this, like you were saying, and Phil said it as well on the Phil Hayes show, we need to start enjoying football a bit. And I thought today I'd enjoyed it up to the point where they started scoring, which ruined my enjoyment, quite frankly. I thought, this has been a really entertaining game, and you can see how they're trying to chip away at each other, but then just as you saw it slipping away, didn't you? That last 20 minutes, half an hour.
Weirdly, it was better than we were against West Ham in both games last season, and we lost both of those as well. But somehow this feels worse and like more of a crisis because we've not got points on the board. But actually, we played really well for sections of it. It just felt like by the end, I felt we'd run out of ideas. I know Moscow saying he thought we were attacking well, but it felt to me like our attacks, they always had us at arm's reach a little bit. Like there were difficult chances, and we were trying to put the ball through a crowded box. Whereas
it felt like percentage balls, didn't it?
Whereas when they attacked, they had massive gaps. Yeah. And
I didn't say we were attacking well. I said we were attacking a lot.
Okay.
Different. I didn't think we were attacking well, and I think I would paint it as kind of a we fell down because of it. In the end, the game was there for us to win in the last 10 minutes, and we were attacking and getting close, but not so close that we were, about to score. But there was enough for the players to think, let's keep going forward, rather than let's shut up shop and play for a point. Like if West Ham had been mullering us and we'd just gone into very defensive mode and thought, right, a point is a good result against this team, let's get that, we may have got away with it. But there was just that little glimmer of, if we keep going forward, he's getting a shot, admit it's from 25 yards and it's not a great chance, but there's just that little bit there, and if we can win this. And I think that's what ended up screwing us in the end, because if it had been clear that we were getting outclassed, then we may have not tried to win. Trying to win, we end up losing. That's annoying, isn't it?
We can't keep losing though, because if we keep doing that, we'll get relegated.
I don't think we will though.
No, but it's that sense of urgency is getting greater and greater, and
Gonna have to wait a week at least.
If we go behind against Watford, it's going to be hateful. But you are optimistic based on what you saw today that we should hopefully have too much for them. I think once we do kickstart it, once we get that first win on the board, I genuinely do believe it will just settle everybody down a little bit.
And
but
you say it's going to be hateful as well, but the crowd at full time was actually fine.
I'd left before then.
People had you stayed rather than leaving disgust.
I watched it on the TV downstairs until the final whistle.
But people stayed, people clapped. There was no booing. No one was shouting things at the players as they were walking around to clap the cop. And we've been in there enough times to know that feeling when it turns and you don't want to see them anymore and you just want to stay at the end so you can shout stuff at them and you're pissed off with it. Whereas today it felt like we gave it everything we could to try and win. And a few things didn't fall for us, and
nobody really did anything wrong, did they? You wouldn't look at any of those players
apart from tracking runners, but which is where we keep losing games and conceding goals. We've conceded a lot of goals.
Yeah, we've conceded a lot of defenders.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not surprised that Antonio was able to score against a defence of Charlie Cresswell and Jamie Shackleton, who both played really well, but they're not first choices. And even Liam Cooper, it's debatable as to whether he's a first choice centre-back when everybody's fit. So the other angle to factor into what happened towards the end of the game is you had inexperienced players and reserve players starting to wear down. So, and I think it is it's tiring to not have all your best players there, because the things you have to do to kind of account for Cresswell's inexperience, getting him through an entire game is a lot of effort for a team to incorporate a young player for his Premier League debut. No matter how well they play, it is still it's something new that you've got to get used to. And I think to have kept Antonio out for as long as we did and to play against him as well as we did, it is then double frustrating that the goal, you can see him, the way he kind of just crashes through Jamie Shackleton as if he's made of paper, and then it is Cresswell coming flying across to try and get the block in at the end to try and stop him. And they're not experienced, seasoned Premier League defenders that you need against a player like that in that moment.
He's a massive handful, is Antonio. Like he looks incredibly difficult to play against. And I thought Cresswell on the whole was really good against him. There was one point where he absolutely battered into him as well, and it was a proper. I mean, they're probably not dissimilar in weight, are they? I guess Cresswell is himself quite a unit, but for someone of 19 to be making his Premier League debut and doing that, I thought it was very promising. And he would have had an easier game, I think, against a lot of maybe better players than Antonio in terms of technically, but physically speaking, he's probably as hard a challenge as you'll get this year.
I loved his headers. Cresswell's headers.
Was coming out and meeting them, wasn't he?
Yeah, there were two in a minute that got big cheers. I was like, he
was enjoying it, wasn't he? You could tell.
He was enjoying it, and also he fits what we like.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a bit sorry for him at times as well, because in that last half an hour in particular, it felt like there was just there was an option for him, and it was.
He kept trying that ball, that out ball that just wasn't there. And there was a couple of times when Click kind of shrugged at him as if to say, "What have you done that for?" But he genuinely
had nothing else to do. He had no other options.
Yeah.
If someone had been shown for a pass, if Dallas or Phillips or someone had been there, I'm sure he'd have given the ball to him. But when he did, it tended to be that they'd touch it, have 2 or 3 touches, give it back to him, and then turn, and he'd just be like, "Well."
Can we talk about those two actually, Phillips and Dallas? Because I've got contradicting feelings about midfield today. I thought we looked far better for having midfielders in midfield. I'll say that, and I thought Rodrigo was really good up front, particularly in the first half. He faded a little bit in the second half, I think, when they started sitting deeper and more compact, because we're looking for the out ball, like you're saying, it just wasn't there. But the midfield, I thought we looked. We had the running of that space, I thought, in the first half, but then again, I thought in the second half that's when we started to tire, and I think, but even in that first half, Phillips was looking just half a yard slow at times, and yet in the second half there were parts of it when he was excellent, but just sloppy passes and just being half a yard behind it. Same with Dallas, they both looked tired, I thought, given that they both played, and it was quite a physical encounter, wasn't it, at Fulham through the week. But just the pair of them, we looked far stronger in midfield, and yet I think that's where we lost it.
Dallas has not been quite right all season, has he? I think the Stuart Dallas at the end of last season was a solid 8 out of 10 in every game, and I think this season he's probably not really edged above a 6, and
bothering the corner flag with that shot.
It does show. Fun. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is in midfield because we've not got many of them.
Well, I couldn't help but fall back on what I've been saying for a couple of weeks, and I don't want to be right, but we're a midfielder short. Had we reinforced midfield in the summer and had a new, better option in there just to support what they're doing, it's different, isn't it? Then we're not bringing, and we haven't mentioned him yet, which is remarkable, but Tyler Roberts off the bench to go down the right.
I could hear one person going mad in the West Stand, cheering it, delighted with the substitution.
He did nothing wrong.
No, he didn't.
And there was, if we want to do the highlights of Tyler Roberts' watch, there was a really nice, it was on halfway, it made absolutely no difference. Did a lovely body swerve that fooled two of their players.
He cut inside, didn't he?
Not to, it wasn't anywhere close to Rafinha nutmegging Benrahma, which was one of the greatest things I've ever watched, particularly his sad walk away, just I will never recover from this. And yeah, obviously just to really make everybody much happier, Bielsa has chosen, he should have really, fermez les bouches, Bielsa, don't tell people that Adam Forshaw's torn his thigh minutes after the full-time whistle of a 2-1 defeat. Yep. Yes, a posterior thigh could be out for a minimum of a month. They say it's normally a month, but because of his history with injuries over the last 2 years, it could be longer.
Well, thanks for bringing me the news.
Don't blame me, blame Bielsa.
Live on the stream. I didn't know this. I tend to just not look at stuff afterwards. I don't like
the
it.
Midfield thing, the reason we were so good in the first half was Rodrigo dropping into midfield, and it was excellent from Click and Dallas. I spent a while in the lead up to our goal, in fact, watching Click and Dallas and Rodrigo just to see what their movement was all about, and them moving out the way, Rodrigo dropping deep, and he loves that little layoff or that spin and pass. There was one beautiful touch that went wide to Rafinha and then set up a really good chance for us, and that's what was really doing it. I was looking at West Ham's midfield. They have Declan Rice and whoever the team sheet check.
Number 8.
Fornals was he in there with him? And I was like, these are supposed to be, Declan Rice is the, poor man's Calvin Phillips is supposed to be as good as him. And we were running midfield just with a very simple piece of play. And when we're talking about I don't know how much of the second half changes was to do with Click and Dallas and how much was to do with Rodrigo being knackered, because he seems to get tired towards the end of a lot of games, and he was not making those deep drops to dictate the play in the second half, and that's maybe more of a. So I don't know whether you would bring on Adam Forshaw or Lewis O'Brien or Conor Gallagher to replace him in that situation, whether that solves the problem, or you still just.
I would have started Gallagher
exactly the same, because Rodrigo's just knackered anyway, so that was the problem.
We stopped playing to Rodrigo's strengths towards the end as well. It felt like we just kept chipping up little balls to him, and you expected him to win headers against. It's like Bonner, isn't it? Who seemed to be marking him most of the game. Who's really big, and he's got the run on him every time, because it's just those little lofted balls that as a defender you can see coming, and you can just run and jump over the back of a striker and get him every single time. So. That was frustrating, I think.
Yeah. We were better when we were getting the space in behind, because him dropping deep was playing it out to the wings and then running back in. It's him and Click and Dallas all storming forward. And there was nice bits with Firpo and James. Well, James wasn't great, if we're going to pick on anybody.
He was fine though, wasn't he?
Fine.
He had that run where he looked really threatening, where they just put it in behind him, really played to his strength.
In fact, I don't know who is there. Who was playing right back for the Hammers from London. Is he good? I suppose he's quite good, isn't he? He had a right old whinge about a tackle. Phillips kind of tackled him and he went down audibly screaming. And then when he didn't get the free kick, just got up and started trotting. I suppose a better play on. But Jackie, when he came on in the second half, wasn't getting a lot of change out of him. And that's why then losing Rafinha and replacing him with Roberts, for all the love I have for him, then you could feel we were better on that side with Rafinha, and once he'd gone, we didn't have Jackie in top form against this person.
And also, to be fair to him, Roberts not a winger.
No,
I can do.
Versatile,
though, isn't he?
We're not totally sure what he is, I suppose, at this stage. But
he did all right.
He's not generally played on the wing, though, has he?
He's a special species, all of his own.
And but he. And then Shackleton getting involved towards the end, he was quite good at playing him. But we did have there was at least one chance that came from sort of the Robert Shackleton click thing happening. You have these little squads on either side. It's Harrison and Firpo teaming up with Dallas on the other side, and it was all right. But it was kind of, when you think what we expected against West Ham, that first half is better than I expected us really to be doing against this very good team. And so I was happy with that, and it does feel to me, if we play as well as we did, I don't think Watford beat us today.
Yeah, but we didn't play Watford, doing it's a different game. So, I mean, I'm just looking now. You've broken that devastating news about Forshaw. I was just thinking that tweet from Radrazani biting back at the fan, who was actually a fan of Forshaw, as it turned out. He was just trying to have a bit of fun with him. Looks really foolish now. Really, really foolish.
It looked foolish when he tweeted it in the first
place.
But you just looked foolish when he went back to it the other night. Just stay off.
Well, unfortunately, at 20-3 today, just before kickoff, he's engaging with somebody else who's had a nibble at him about Forshaw. Someone said, "Our new signing Forshaw must be delivering sandwiches again today, Andrea, stealing a wage," which, not helpful from the tweeter, but you've got to rise above it, haven't you? And he's responded with, "How long do you want to go on? I will always defend my players when they wear LUFC jersey are the best. Nothing else to add. Hope now you can all give me break and support the lads today, as always, loudly and strongly. Come on, Leeds."
It's not a terrible response to somebody telling Forshaw to pack his bags like Nelly the elephant. And
but now we've lost.
Everybody's going on.
Everyone
will
pile in. It's not helpful.
But they were going to do that anyway because of the tweet from weeks ago. So it's
it's too late for him to ever.
And it is, and also it is a little. Some of it is mean. There's an article Dave Geiler's written in the new issue of the Square Ball about the whole send him to the glue factory stuff has kind of lost its humour long since, and this only kind of returns it because if you do have medical insurance, technically you shouldn't be sacked for a torn thigh. That would be unfair. So, or thrown in the bin or chucked in the river or sent away. And no matter, it doesn't matter if you preface the tweet by saying, "I am sorry, but," it's still unfair. And also, it's a month. So maybe repair that tear.
Weeks, not months.
Get his thigh back into condition. Get him going in the under-23s again. And then maybe by 2025, there will be an Adam Forshaw that we can actually watch. And
he's out of contract in the summer, isn't he? So.
Or maybe Luke Ayling gets fit and then Shackleton moves into midfield.
Would you put Shackleton in midfield later on? Would you maybe put Dallas at right back and swap Shack? Or I know it's fanciful thinking because you don't unbalance your system, do you? When it's
that's the thing. It feels like it happened in the Fulham game to an extent as well. When you start switching everything around, you just sort of lose shape and purpose, and if no one quite knows their jobs as well as they did at the start of the game. I feel like when you start shuffling everyone around, as tempting as it is to go, "Oh well, Dallas looks a bit tired and he's not quite doing it in there, maybe switch him over," but it's very difficult to go from playing right back to playing centre mid. I think
we already had a lot of changes in there as well. If you think of Rodrigo moving to striker, but still being as effective as he would have been if he was playing 10, it's interesting. There's not like a great difference in the way he plays. I guess it's just where he has to be with regard to Bamford's position when they're on the pitch together, but still dropping deep and going forward. So that was a change, and that meant Click is playing in his position. We've then got Charlie Cresswell has come in, who is brand new, and Jamie Shackleton is in place of Ayling. So there's already quite a lot going on, and then that's kind of where I was saying before that when you start taking Rafinha comes out of there, and that was the big change, wasn't it? Then maybe that was the tipping point. You can absorb so many changes, then there'll be one just becomes more than a team can withstand.
To go back to Rodrigo, I think you're right in saying he doesn't play in a completely different way, whether he's a 10 or a 9. But I feel like having actual midfielders behind him, you just don't notice that big gap which you do when he plays.
The risks are not as risky, but like those little half turns that he tries to do when you're slightly further up. I don't know he's dropping deep to do it because Click was like more advanced than him for most of the first half. Yeah, but they're not as costly because you're drawing centre back out. I think so. I agree with you on that.
It just doesn't. It feels like it works when he's doing it from 9, whereas when he's doing it from 10, it's just easy to defend against because it ends up with a midfielder marking him, and then there's no one there when he loses the ball. There's just a big void where midfielders should be.
So the solution is we sell Bamford.
I think so. Yeah.
he had a good. I did think.
Don't even just give him away. I think
First half, I was watching Rodrigo, and it crossed my mind of like, you put Bamford back in. If he keeps this up, I don't know how long Bamford's going to be out, but if we have now, say, a month or whatever of Rodrigo at 9 playing this well, then Bamford's fit. You just tell him, go do your silly little podcast, mate. Not interested.
And I was thinking it with the defence as well, because I thought Shackleton was pretty good at right back. Cresswell was very good. You know, Ayling's not had a great start to the season. Centre backs keep coming in and out.
We
and
look
being
fresher.
Injured.
We look fresher.
Like, part of me thought it'd be quite nice if those two just played well and stayed in. Like, it feels like it's been ages since we had, probably because we've been half decent for a while now, but it feels like ages since we've had a young player who just comes into the side and stays there. Normally it's they come in for a game and then they drop out, and you see him in a cup match, and like Lewis Cook would be the last one that came in, and straight away you were like, he's just got to play every game because he's dead good. So it'd be nice if that happened.
I think it was. Yeah, we looked fresher. I thought it was good to freshen us up today. Like I said, the only two that didn't look fresh, I think, were Phillips and Dallas, who just looked a little bit leggy. I just worry. I don't know. It feels worrying to me.
But look at it this way to soothe your worries. Going forward, we're very good against West Ham today, and that's without Bamford. So that's good, isn't it? Agree? Yeah. Happy?
I'm on board. I'm on board the hype train.
And then at the back, we gave up 2 late goals. But the defence can benefit as well as Shackleton and Cresswell played. But if you get a top form Ayling back or Shackleton carries on, and then you have the choice of bringing in Llorente and Koch and Struijk alongside or instead of Cooper, maybe it's, drop Cooper and put somebody in alongside Cresswell. But we'll have Struijk back for the next game, and we will have hopefully Koch and or Llorente will be back with us pre-Forshaw. I mean, probably the world will end pre-Forshaw. We'll have global warming. We'll close everything down. So that's going to taking this in a more depressing direction than I wanted. But
you're not selling it to me now.
We can bring though.
I'm out.
We will have defenders.
Forget it.
We will have defenders coming back in so that in the future, next time we play West Ham, maybe Antonio won't just be flying forward at a couple of teenagers and barging them out of his way to score when. Let's see him try that with Llorente. He can bully Jamie Shackleton. I could bully Jamie Shackleton, but let's see him start getting fresh with Diego when he's back, and he'll go crazy on him.
Trying to be positive about it, then I'm just thinking. I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier or not. I thought Firpo was better today. He seems to be getting there. Still a little bit full of nervous energy at times, like he wants to impress too much. But once he settles in, I think he'll be fine.
Was it a fault for the first goal at all? It was far end. I couldn't properly tell.
The bollocking seemed to happen. In the direction of people saying it was Harrison got the bollocking for this by a few players, so whether he didn't track his man or whatever, but I think he just stuck his foot out, didn't he?
It was Jackie was caught, the guy was in behind, and he maybe could have been faster getting there, I think is the complaint, and then he was allowed to run inside, which you can tell maybe from the fact that didn't happen very often, that it wasn't supposed to happen. It's not like Buggerlugs was running in from the right wing time after time, and then the shot just hit Firpo, and kind of not what Junior, as the commentator in midweek called him, needed. You would have just let it go enough of Stuart Dallas, who people like.
Just to wrap it up on a more positive note, what I was going to say was, had we got out of that with a 1-1, which we were 5 minutes away from, I think I would have quite enjoyed today.
Yeah.
But as it is, it feels like I've been given a hefty smack in the bollocks.
Well, you started this,
and I grazed my elbow. Look at that. Grazed my elbow. I did that last night when we went for beers. I don't know how I did it. Somewhere on the journey home, I got home and I was bleeding. I've had a fall. Yeah, and then I kept banging it today, I think, on the seat edge, and it hurt. And it's all gone wrong, hasn't it?
Get it bandaged up, get an ice pack on it like Rafinha's legs. But you started by saying that we need to try and enjoy the football more, and I felt the same. If it had been 1-1, I would have thought that was an absolutely cracking
That was
game.
my prediction as well, 1-1.
And all it needed, so for all the depression, click in the goal next time, and then at the other end, don't let them score. And also, Kevin Friend, send their strikers off before they get the chance to score against us. That would be very helpful. I'd like that to happen.
Yeah, that'd be fair enough. You got a little bit tasty behind me, in the East stand, in the Adidas box of all places. I think when West Ham scored, there was some.
The bloke from Puma turned up.
Well, yeah, no. They must have had some fans in there who were being a bit vocal, and quite a number of people objected to their celebrations and let it be known.
There was quite a lot going on after the goal. We had to wait around for the game to restart because there was West Ham fans running on the pitch and scrapping with stewards trying to avoid being arrested.
Is that because, do you think, maybe they're 400 yards from the pitch in their pathetic stadium?
They were very quiet, actually, I thought, on the whole, West Ham fans.
Yeah, but it was one of those games where, I don't know, it kind of ebbed and flowed, didn't it? And when we went a bit quiet when we were on the back foot, and they did, but I agree, we were better. that's all I've got.
I feel like I've got memories of West Ham being better as away fans.
They just sing about bubbles all the time, isn't they? The big Michael Jackson fans, yeah. And they've got nothing else, so pretty dull from that respect. And then they got very excited about the goal, and there was all the players were throwing their shirts into the crowd and all that kind of stuff as if to reward them for braving the North.
Right, well, same time again next week then.
After we've beaten Watford, yes.
Yeah, and
maybe a little bit earlier if everything doesn't go wrong on the stream.
If you are a TSB Plus subscriber, give us your feedback on this. And yeah, thanks for subscribing. We appreciate it. Keeping us off the streets. Give us your feedback on the feedback form. But you've sent that out, will you?
I've sent the email, and also on the website. If you go to the menu under the account section, I think there's TSB Opinions. The link is there, and you'll find everything you need. Will always be at that link, assuming I've updated it, which I have, definitely have.
Good. And otherwise, watch out for this on YouTube to watch for you if you want to indulge in another Leeds United defeat, as we are in the relegation zone, and we'll return with the
We're not bottom of it though.
With the main show
already, as bad as we are results wise. There are teams that are worse. It's Burnley and Newcastle below us. No, it must be Norwich. And
I mean,
Newcastle should be there. Yeah,
Norwich haven't scored a goal yet this season.
And
I feel like they lose about 2 or 3-0 every single game.
Also, I don't know the details, but did Scum really concede in the 90th minute and then miss a penalty in the 95th?
Yeah.
I mean, life isn't so bad, really, is it? That's good. That's the kind of thing to keep you warm.
Right. Thanks for listening and or watching. We'll return with propaganda, Cockney propaganda, brilliant.
What?
And the main show, and
what?
The Phil Hay show.
My mum loved that goal.
All the other shows. Thanks for listening, watching. We'll see you in a bit. Bye.